as you can see on the title, no inner authority, you know. And of course, together with no inner authority comes the theme with outer authority. I mean, if you take that, at least half of the people, if not more, that have no inner authority, they're going to be mental projectors. So, you know, there is a consistency to being a projector, even if it is a mental one. Even if, you know, as a matter of fact, if you think that projectors are all about others and guiding others, that truly, that doesn't involve a lot of inner authority, you know? Inner authority is about knowing what is healthy for you, correct for you, natural for you. Outer authority is about knowing what's correct for others, you know? And it starts with what's correct in life, what's correct for a human being, what's correct for everybody. Conceptually, at least, theoretically, at least, because this is what the mind is for. It processes awareness, or the potential for awareness that we call knowing, awareness that we call understanding, awareness that we call memory, you know, that can establish a point of reference for others. For others, I can bring the value of my yesterday and share it with you here. And it's a reference for you. It has been always said that, you know, the mind can only have outer authority. And that in many ways you see every mind, every human mind, is an outer authority for others. You know, I remember growing up, you know, and there was an authority in my life that would come through my parents. But when I was on the street, you know, I wasn't moving according to what the authority of my parents told me, not only. They were my friends, and they were the authority of my friends. And to be a good friend or a bad friend was very different than to be a good son or a bad son. You know? So the mind of my friends were an outer authority for me. My mind was an outer authority for them. And we all learn to use the mind. And of course, people with a defined mind, there is one thing you can expect from this person's intelligence. It is going to be consistent at some level. And what is the channel that brings the definition is basically going to tell you how that works, you know, and what it can be connected to. But it is always about outer authority. Now you see, outer authority is not awareness necessarily. Outer authority, like we saw, can be the most homogenized form of authority that we know. The authority of the king, the only authority that is absolute is always external. So you see, outer authority does not imply true authority, does not imply awareness. But you see, even as not self, a mental projector is a good advisor, at least a good advisor for some. For some, not for everybody, because nothing is for everybody. Now you see, as a mental projector, everything that is below your throat, you cannot be a mental projector if everything below your throat is not undefined. Please understand this. What this means, it means that your mind, no matter where it looks, if it looks at you, it can never identify consistency in the way your form operates. not in the identity, not in the way it projects out the role, not in the values that it holds on to, not in how it relates to others at an intimate level, not in the levels of stress that it experiences when it meets other people, not in the things that suddenly they can feel driven to prove their value through. None of that is defined, which means that none of their concerns of themselves is consistent. None of them. And because there is no way for them to understand the specifics of their own concerns, what do you think their awareness is going to focus on? Everybody's concerns. Everybody's concerns. What are, the problems everybody has with life? This is what they're going to be good at. To understand why human beings suffer, why all human beings do like this or like that, why they all get blinded by power, why they all get blinded by materialism, why do they all get blinded by passion, desire, need. And besides, how many conclusions they manage to draw, some recognition is going to be there, and much of that definition is going to have some objective foundation in what everybody would agree to, that it is reality, the way things work in life. Now, that is homogenized outer authority. That's why, you can be a business advisor and have zero self-awareness. You can be the best business advisor in the world and know nothing about yourself and know nothing about love in the sense of why it does what it does and not necessarily have much concern. You can be a teacher, you can be an advisor, you're a teacher. You teach other people, concepts. But they're not your concepts. They're homogenized concepts, and they work. Projectors are very intelligent, understand that everything about being a projector is connected to awareness, one way or the other. Specialized awareness. And this is, of course, someone that's going to specialize on theoretical awareness. What you can do under specific circumstances that can be artificially created and reproduced. Now, this is going to be homogenized, but it does not mean that this is not functional in the world. It's what's called intellectuals, And intellectuals are valued, Whether it is, there are people that get paid. There's people that go into the bar, and in the bar, they express their opinions for free. And there's people, they sit down, they write their opinions, and they send them to a newspaper, and they get published, and they get paid for it. Because obviously, most of the times, they studied journalism. In other words, there is something that legitimates the authority of this opinion. That it's, supposedly, if you study journalism, you understand what the human game is about in civilization. The money and the truth game. How much truth is there in the way people who have the money use the money? How much transparency is there? Now, that's what a mental projector is, self or not self. They can be very useful to a lot of people. Please do understand that having no inner authority is not a problem. Not a problem. And all you need to do to understand this is think of the way the 95%, 97% of human beings who have inner authority, what they do with it. How they use their inner authority to get caught in power tripping and fighting and resisting and misrepresenting themselves. It's almost a blessing to not have, solid foundation enough to take your disagreements with others that far, you know, and that you can, okay, look at things with a level of detachment that is not possible if you have definition below the throat, because that definition fixes your awareness to the body. Now, these are people that can really ignore the body. That's the other thing, that the mind can really ignore the body, not understand the body's restraints, not understand its limitations, not understand its inherent vulnerability. Because this is the intelligence that is, you know, inherent in vulnerability. To know you are vulnerable, to know that you don't know, to know that everything you know is subjective, to know that you can only know what is true or what seems true for you. You cannot know what the truth is for others. You cannot know if your truth can work for others, can inspire others, what it can inspire in others. You cannot know. All you can do is express it or not. But you cannot control what other people are going to do with it. You know, outer authority is not about trying to have influence over other people. Outer authority is not about trying to convince others that you are right and those who don't agree with you are wrong. It's got nothing to do with this. Nothing. Nothing. And you see, if you are a projector and you are designed to complete yourself through the other, to fulfill your purpose through the other, you should know you're vulnerable. See, most projectors, they're not mental projectors. They can pull their game of trying to be a manifester or trying to be an energy type for very long before they realize how exhausting and unhealthy that is for them. Mental projectors, they have the sensitivity of, you know, doing something they cannot pull. Not only they cannot pull for very long at the energy level, they don't have the consistency to play that out in the form. So there is an awareness in the mental projector of their inherent vulnerability that most projectors don't have. You know, they are trying to penetrate you with their focused aura, and they are unaware that 70% of the people that they try to penetrate, they colonize their sacral, you know? They colonize their body, their energy system, their attention. They envelop them and sucker them in. So, you know, vulnerability for human beings, you know, the greatest danger for human beings does not come from wild animals, does not come from meteorites, does not come from World War. Most of the violence that is exercised on human beings comes directly from people who are part of your life. Business partner, husbands, wife, lovers, friends, turning enemies. You know? Which means that the greatest danger for a human being is another human being. And this is what projectors are here to know about the other. How can the kindest person, the apparently kindest person, get you and your life into a lot of trouble? How can, you know, someone that appears to be an animal be a wonderful human being? You know, when you do not compare them and you do not judge them and you do not, you know, it's how you look at others that makes all the difference in what you see in them and how much of yourself you manage to see in them. And that's why, it's something that Ra always said. I mean, everybody agrees that, he always said human design is for children. But you see, when you think of humanity, and the evolutionary process of humanity, and you look at it through the 4 types, the projector is the child. The projector is the new type. The projector is more exposed than anyone because they don't have examples to follow. The world is not made by projectors, for it's not built on intelligence and uniqueness. It is built on homogenization and fear. Not a lot of intelligence. So you see, intelligence is overrated. Way, 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 way overrated. One of my best friends in this later part of my life, the post-Chironian life, is someone in my village, a mental projector who is a 6'2" and is now also post-Chironian. He doesn't believe in human design. He doesn't believe in anything. He lived, And of course, knowing his design, he's a knower, so you don't try to convince a knower. I always respected this. And the one thing this guy knows, this guy knew from very early, is how fragile we are. How fragile we all are. How much we need to have somebody in our lives that we can trust. Trust. And of course, if you are a mental projector, you're here to wait for the invitation. And you're here to wait for an invitation you can trust. But the point is not what you're being invited to. Do you trust the person who brings the invitation? That is the point. Do you trust the way they display their power? Do you trust that, you can guide it, but you can never take responsibility for what they do? They're not your son, you're not their parents, they're nothing yours, and you're nothing of theirs. They're just the perfect complement for you. You can be super cool, and they are super hot. Perfect. You're always going to be entertaining and balancing. But at the same time, you see, it is not your nature. So at some point, enough is enough. You go back into your movie. You go back into your movie. You don't try to stay in the movie of the other. Vulnerability, not knowing what is going to happen. But this is the state of mind, not worrying about, when it is not anxious, not worrying about what is going to happen. Knowing something is going to happen. In the end, nothing can protect you from death. Nothing can protect you from life. You can protect yourself from the incorrect company. That's all. That's all. I mean, this is how you take care of your vulnerability. You do not engage with forces you do not trust. And you see, you don't choose to trust or not. They bring the trust out or they don't. It's very simple. And if they don't, it's okay. It's normal that you don't trust the appearance of most human beings. It's normal after a certain, when you live 30 years, it's normal that you don't believe that people are what they appear to be. Because we do live in a hypocritical world. And it is not bad. From the perspective of the mental projector, it is better to deal with someone hypocritical than with someone violent. The power of reason to disengage from too much heat. See, vulnerability is not a problem. It's a gift. You know, projectors are here to read the other. Mental projectors, they can read other people like books. They actually become writers. They write stories. They write the future. They write, you know, the world as it is, as they see it. And other people, because they're good at structuring concepts, they're good at telling stories in a stimulating way. You know, they're good at expressing the element of life, the elements of life, the same elements that every other life has, in a unique synthesis, in a unique way. And write a novel that can be autobiographical or not. You never know. You never know. And you see, how far are you from realizing life's an illusion, life is a theater, life is about perception, it's not about action. Life is about how you see things, not what you do. Because if you do automatically and you don't see, you can go through life blind. You can go blind to the grave. Most human beings do. You know, and if you look at the mind, every mind, because when you look at the mind, you know, the highest expression of intelligence, because every mind is unique, is the 4323, you know. And the 6124, the ability to think everything over for yourself, you know, to speak about everything and nothing for yourself, to solve the mysteries and the dilemmas of life for yourself. But these channels, you know, in order to start thinking, you need to have a foundation. You need to know something to think about it. And you see, when you look at the sociology of channels, that this stream of mental knowers, they serve the direction of the 213. And the direction of the 213 in civilization is all about material stability. So this is about serving the status quo. You know, this is how to make rich people be richer, you know? And this is what you need to avoid if you don't want to stay poor forever. So this is what they think about, you know? Who has the money? What did they do with the money? Where did they put the money? Where did the money go? How did the money change from one place to the other? You know, I mean, it's not explicitly, but what I mean to say is that everything they think about has a material foundation. And it's that material foundation that allows, you know, the thinkers of the not-self define reality. Reality. See, if every human being is ready to pay for it, it becomes a very important aspect of reality. If nobody is ready to pay for it, it doesn't seem to be part of reality. You know? Everything that doesn't have a price, everything that does not have a material foundation does not seem to be part of reality. The sun, the stars, the ether, love. You know, after 30 years, love is just a nice word, but it's not what defines the reality of the material world. After 30, you know that even love has a price, that truth has a price, that so many things that shouldn't have a price, oh, they do. They do. So, you know, the problem with no inner authority is only when the mind is homogenized, because when the mind is homogenized, it's going to think like a manifester. Impact. So instead of guiding the energy of others, it is going to try and influence it, determine it. You shouldn't do this, you should do that. That's not guiding. You know, that's not advising, you know. If I was you, I would look at things this way. I'm not saying what you should see. I'm saying how I would look at it. I'm saying which questions I would ask myself if I was you. You know, I don't know what the answer is. I don't care what the answer is because I don't need to know it. You need to know it. I know which questions I would ask myself if I was you in this situation. That's how you guide someone to see what only they can see about them that you cannot see, but you can understand the dilemmas that they are in. Now, this is outer authority. You know, when you can use your awareness to, for a moment, imagine what it would be like to be in someone else's shoes. It's a gift. It's not a problem. It's an incredible gift. To be able to do that with anyone, especially if trust is the frequency. Enough trust for truth to be natural. Enough trust for love. You know? Because love and truth, this is the basic equation that keeps our spirit and our form aligned in the way we live. Now here we have a mental projector. You know? This is someone that is here to exemplify the principle I just described. And you can see there is two channels defined in the mind. One is red, one is black. So you can see that this person cannot mentally control the way she is going to say things, nor when she is going to say things, nor, you know, nor what the things are that she is going to say. She cannot know this. Because if she knows this, that is the sure way to become a verbal gunslinger. This logical mind saying, I know what everybody should do for us to have a better future. I know what nobody should do so we could have a better future. Trying to convince everybody. And meeting resistance because of her mental fixedness. And she's not. She's not meant to think actively unless there's someone else. You know? This is someone that's designed, you know, to accept the mystery of doubt. You know, to doubt and not know why you doubt. Why you doubt everything. Because this is a demand of mental intelligence. Evidence. Evidence. Objective evidence. You know, this is not someone that is here to be a believer, and yet she has this gate of saying, I believe. And she has this gate that says, I remember what I used to believe, that I believe no longer. The personality sun, you know, we saw already somebody else, you know, the projector, but with self-projected inner authority, with the personality sun in gate 4, third line. Here we have the personality in gate 4, first line. You know, this is an investigator. This is an investigative logic, you know? And it's an investigative logic about who are you? Who are you? You know? In other words, until there is an invitation, until there is someone else, there is no investigation. There's nothing I need to say of what I know. I don't even know if I know. I know that I don't know. I know that everything I know, I'm not supposed to do anything with it. I know that knowledge is not power. I know, you know, this is a, remember profile, this is a 1-3. I know that I'm not sure. I know what I desire, but I am not sure if it is like this, if it can be like this. I know what makes me curious, but I don't know if it really is what it appears to be. I know who I find attractive, but I don't really know why or what. I don't know if this is good. I don't know if this is bad. I don't know what conclusion to draw. And of course, you shouldn't draw any. You should never be the one to start communication, to start experience. You shouldn't. You should never be the one that approaches anyone. You shouldn't. You never should if you're a projector. See, if you're a generator, it's about letting life come to you, whether it comes in the form of people or if it comes as the first rays of the sun. You respond to life. But projectors, they have to wait for people, very specifically. You know, they have to wait for someone else to come and trigger contact. Contact. Invitation. Would you like to share your answers with me? Do you have an answer to my question? Do you have an answer to my desire? Do you have an answer to my fear? Do you have an answer to my need? Do you have an answer to my passion? Who are you? Who are you? I don't know if I have. First answer. I'm a 1-3, you know. What is your passion about? Tell me. Can you explain your passion? Can you explain your need, please? Can you explain your taste? Can you explain your urge? Can you explain your emotion? Can you explain yourself? She's here to recognize the other. Because you cannot guide something you have not previously recognized. If you don't know who's asking, how can you know that your answer is correct and can lead the other successfully? The first line of gate 4 is called pleasure. Pleasure. If you look at what most human beings want all the time, this is the most basic answer: pleasure. What are human beings addicted to? Pleasure. What do human beings always want more of? Pleasure. And of course, logic says we should have pleasure all the time. Why don't we eliminate pain? Why don't we eliminate all these personal feelings? I mean, you know, come on, we're grown-ups, you know. We're cool, we understand, right? We agreed, we are... what is pleasure? What is pleasure? Human beings have so little understanding of pleasure. The pleasure to be alive. You know? The pleasure to be alive. The pleasure to understand. You know, the pain of doubt. You know, can you enjoy doubts? Can you enjoy doubts? Can you enjoy not being certain about anything? Especially if it is about tomorrow. Because if you cannot enjoy not being certain, oh, you're going to have a hard time experiencing the pleasure of letting go and not worry. You know. And you're going to use your mind to avoid pain. But avoiding pain does not mean enjoying pleasure. You understand? This is someone that is vulnerable. And all she's going to do is try to avoid pain, avoid confrontation, avoid truth. You know how much this mind can turn her life into a desert? You know, isolate from everyone, you know, don't trust anyone because everyone can hurt you. Now, if you with this design do not trust someone, your life is going to be dull. Not much is going to happen. You're not going to have new experiences. And no matter what your questions are, the answers are never going to bring you closer to yourself. The answers are never going to bring satisfaction to the other. Because the answer is homogenized. It's the answers of should and should not. You know? It's the answers of homogenized understanding, not self-understanding. The assumption that you are here to be a manifester or a generator, you know, the I have manifester, you know. And of course, you end up having problems with everything that comes out of your throat is pointing downwards. You know, what you do with what you think you have, that never goes the way you want it. The way you use your memory, the contributions you try to make, how you represent yourself in the now, in the continuum now, how you relate to your own form. Now you see, if this person only has homogenized understanding, this is going to be one of the most fixed minds you have met, you know? Someone that has, you know, the same reasons, the same patterns, the same cliches for everybody. And there's 4323 that will just not listen, you know? But the moment this is a true understanding, the moment understanding is something that is the flow of consciousness, just concretizing in her mind, you know, and the moment that understanding is the recognition of who are you? Who do I have the pleasure to be dealing with right now? This 4323. You see, the unconscious is there to adapt what I know. I know how to express my understanding in the way that it suits you, serves you the best. I know what I understand about you. Because you see, who I am for myself, this is deeply subjective. The more I think about myself, the less conclusions I have. But you are not subjective to me. You, I see with the same transparency that I see apples hanging from the trees. And I have no doubt this is an apple. I have no doubt you are a very passionate person. Or you are very, understand? They are here to know the other. They're here to explain what happens. Let me explain to you what has been happening to me since I met you the first time. There is something about you that is always the same, always repeats. That's how you know somebody. But every time you meet them, you meet the same being. And sometimes they're up and sometimes they're down, but it's the same being. Same life, same story, same places, little exceptions. See, the moment this person does not have this drawing conclusions, because every conclusion is a generalization to many. And you realize you don't know the other if you don't let the other reveal himself. That's why you let them come. Because if it is you going to, hey, please reveal yourself to me. What? The other doesn't reveal himself when you want them to reveal. They reveal themselves to you when they are ready and they need to. I don't know what to do. I don't know what's happening. I don't, I want this and I don't know how to get it. I don't want this, but I don't know, how to get rid of it. It's there. This is where I know how to explain what I see. See, how difficult is that? To explain what you see. When truth is not something you have to think about. When truth is the transparent communication of what you see. And very particularly what you see in someone that you are not seeing for the first time, that you have seen go through different circumstances. That's what's there. I know how to explain what I see in you. Because when I met you, this happened to me, and then this happened to me, and then this happened to me, and then this happened to me. And if I put this and this and this and this together, I have a very simple explanation. You're human. You're human, and you're dealing with these difficulties, and you're not looking at it objectively. You seem to be looking at it this way. Why don't you look at it from this perspective? I mean, that's at least what comes to me. This is what I would do, knowing about your life, what I know, what you yourself have revealed to me one way or the other. Authoritarian. To know, no other authoritarianism than saying, hey, this is what I saw. You tell me if there was something more to it. Maybe there's something I don't know. But, based on what I saw, this is what seems obvious to me. You don't need to convince anyone of anything. You lay out the structured story of what you have witnessed in the form. And you watch the other person lie to themselves, resist the truth, try to change it, try to excuse it, try to justify it, or simply accept it. You're right, No one ever told me this. You're right, I should have. That's not the point. But I'm right. Good for you if I'm right. Now you know how to take a different approach. Doesn't change anything for me. Doesn't cost me anything. You asked me for my point of view. I may as well tell you the truth. It costs me less than to make up a lie. But before you can enjoy this freedom of an unrestrained mental intelligence, you have to decondition yourself and let go of all the dogmas that conditioned your homogenized way of understanding human beings in general, and the relationship and the morality amongst human beings in particular, particularly in the realm of formal relationships. Because it is the foundation of how homogenization works. When you formalize love and you formalize truth, love becomes a duty, truth becomes a dogma. And from that moment onwards, they both lose the spirit. A truth without spirit, a love without spirit is a dead truth. It's a love with no wings. Now you see, this is someone. She is designed for outer authority. Her explanations are designed to have outer authority. Because everything she can advise other people about love, it's what she learned in her own life. Repeating certain patterns all over and over and over again until she realized what she was doing to herself. What she can advise other people about stress, don't do this. Oh, I have done it. Every time she sees other people make the mistakes that turned her into a martyr, this is where she can become a guide. This is her wisdom. You see, outer authority, the foundation for outer authority. Obviously, the outer is about the external. And when it comes to awareness, you know, the external in us, it's personality awareness. Personality. See, the 4323, this is not the outer authority. You know, I'm a freak. I'm a freak. The outer authority is in the 63-4. It's in the place where I can see that no matter how freaky I am, I'm human. I'm a human, you know. So the foundation for outer authority here is in the 63-4. But this is someone that is designed to develop differentiated understanding, and very particularly differentiating understanding about what is possible in bonding between human beings. What is possible between a man and a woman when love and truth are not a formality. You know? Now, of course, you got to live that first before you can tell others about it. You need to develop that understanding, and you can't by speculating mentally. You got to experiment it. You have to find the right other, you know. You have to get the right invitations. Otherwise, this logic can never serve anything else than homogenized cliches. Now, let's move to the last slide. You know, reflectors. Most students, when they do the PDL training, professional analyst training, you know, when they get their first reflector for a reading, you know, they panic. They absolutely panic because everything they remember does not apply to reflectors. And of course, you cannot blame them, because the truth is that most teachers, because projectors are only 1% of the population, they don't get a lot of attention. You know, no matter how much, see, if you're an analyst and you specialize on reflectors, you must be very, very altruistic, because you're not going to have a lot of clients, you know? And most reflectors aren't rich, you know? So they may not even be able to afford a human design reading, you know? I guess that's part of why they are so disappointed, you know? To be a minority sets you up for disappointment, I guess. And yet, there's something amazing about reflectors, because on one side, you can see that they are designed for homogenization. You know, they are. They are. And at the same time, you know, I have done a few times course about the sacral, you know. And of course, somebody that is not a generator always sneaks in. But when you do a sacral course, you know, the majority are going to be generators. And, you know, when you have a room full of generators, it's like having only one big generator there. You know, they buzz all together, and they are similar to each other. And the more generators you put together, the more similar they're all going to look. Only once I did a course for reflectors, and there were like 10 people in the course, or 12, I don't remember, but there were only 3 reflectors, I think, maybe 4. There's 3 I can think of. And hey, you could really see how different they are from each other, you know, that they are so different. When you put the reflector charts like this, one next to the other, what do you see? They're all the same. No definition. But the moment you deal with them in the aura, the moment you see how they move with other people, they're all different. They're all very, very different in their social strategies, in who they resonate to, in how they represent themselves. The only thing they have in common at this level is they don't engage. They don't engage. You know, they don't stay. I mean, they engage a little bit with everyone. They don't stay with anyone. But how they engage or not, how they taste other people, you know, how they sample other people, their style of sampling, you know, this is very, very, very different, you know, and it stands out how different one reflector is to the other. Now, why is that? Why is that? And it is something that we are going to be looking into in depth tomorrow, pretty much at the end of the day, because there's other things I want to take you through before as a preparation. But it is basically something that is called the cross of life. But even before the cross of life, think of what we started the rave cartography with. Profile. Profile. You know, the reflector is really a type where, because they're all about the mind and they're all about homogenization, you know, you can really see a nicely polished profile. You know, the framework of their intelligence, you know, it stands out. A 1-3 reflector, you know, you're really going to feel their authoritarian personality and their anarchistic martyr spirit. You're gonna feel that. And if they're a 4-6, oh my God, they're gonna be externalizing everything they sample. You know? Profile gets very strong. And not just profile, because profile, you see, is just a conduct for the theme of the cross, for the myth that you embody, that is your incarnation cross. So in that course, you know, there were two sisters. And one was the cross of the vessel of love. And everybody was delighted with this woman. I don't remember her profile. You know, I just remember, you know, her sister, she had the cross of tension. And not just, you know, really everybody was kind of like looking like, oh, this one here. I went to pick her up. This was, you know, it was a summer school and it was happening in Girona near France, up on a mountain. So you know, there was no bus, there was no, even taxis would not necessarily know how to get you up there. It was so, well, in my tendency to be a super slave sometimes, you know, I just went to pick her up because I was the only one there who had a car. And this woman with the tension, the moment she entered into the car, asking questions and and you know, at some point I told her, listen, if you don't shut up now, I'm gonna ask you to step out of the car and you come walking. But I mean, you know, she holds me, she was like, you know, how unkind can you be, you know? How the way to receive people, you know, she was really disappointed, you could tell. But she was unbearable, she wouldn't stop, you know, and of course she didn't stop for the whole course, only she already knew that she better didn't try me anymore, you know. She tried everybody else, and her sister, she had come earlier. Nobody, you know, it was just such a different thing what was coming out of this mouth, out of this body. Now, I'm not saying the others were more in tune with their reflector nature. They just had a different cross, you know, cross of tension, you know, when it was just something so obvious. And of course, this is where, see, projectors, they're here for uniqueness. Otherwise, where is this surprise going to come from? You know? You're going to experience surprise when you meet normal people? You know, what's the surprise in normal? No surprise. No surprise. Everybody is normal. Now, what is going to surprise the reflector? Uniqueness. Uniqueness. You know, the difference to the rule. The freak. The freak. You know, they're here to react to the freak. They're looking for the freak. They're waiting for the freak. They're waiting for the one. The one. The one that is transparent. The one that is not afraid of his own intelligence. The one that doesn't need a mask. You know? And that's the one they protect. You know? That's the one they don't just sample. You know? Because everyone they sample is, are you the one? Oh, no, you're normal. Are you the one? No, you're normal too. And it's not the one of a romantic dream. Even though they can easily end up there. It's the one that is inspiring. It's the one that is entertaining. The one that it is inspiring to listen to. The one that is inspiring just to see you. Be yourself. That's the gift. And of course, the gift that they have to recognize what is unique in the other is where, because they all do it, where their personality sun is. The cross. The cross. 70% of what you are is in your profile. Understand this. That the surface of the body graph, that this is just general characteristics, is what you are learning here. That everything on the surface of this body graph is human. Everything is human and can be interpreted in many different contexts. You know, the spleen can be read through the projector. It can be read through the generator. It can be read through the manifester, and it's different. Authority can be read through the manifester. When you get to the reflector, everything's different. Everything's different because the way they are designed to attune with life. They're not here for the mundane. They're not here for the inferior order of the world. What's normal? Who would be interested in what's normal? Nobody. The most stupid person is not interested in what's normal. What's normal we take for granted. We want what is special. Now, what is special? If everything you sample, this is better, let me sample it. That doesn't look special to me. It has the appearance of special, but when you look behind it, is it still special, or is it just another human being? Just another dude. Just another man, just another woman. Not good, not bad. Normal. And of course, each reflector, here you have a 4-6 of sovereignty, So when you see these people sample other people, sovereignty is going to be in their concern. The normal way of being sovereign. The normal trips with dependency and independency. That's what they're going to sample. To find someone who doesn't fight, for whom sovereignty, not a problem. Not a problem. This is another 4-6, but they are about contagion. Contagion. What everyone is open to. What no one is open to. That's normal. What everybody wants to buy, what nobody wants to buy. What everybody thinks is special, what nobody thinks is special. Disappointing. Because you don't know there is a special way for you, to find that. Life. Life is the surprise. People are not surprising until you don't look at them through the lens of life. When you look at people through your whatever moralities you have, you generalize and you idealize. And you think that the surprise is, the Messiah, waiting for Godot, waiting for a human that is not human. Because you don't look through the form. You don't sample the form. You don't understand uniformity in the form. You understand uniformity in the thinking, in the ideology, in the dogmas. And you look for the exception there. It's in the form. It's in the form. That's why we say human design is for children. If you protect them from damaging conditioning in the first 7 years of life, then they will know how to take care of themselves. If you respect their intelligence when it is small, fragile, and does not have the power to self-preserve, once they're ready, they will let nothing get in their way. The 39, look at these two. The 29 and the 47, they're all about bonding, 4 6s. So, you watch these reflectors, you're going to see them network. Network. Connect, change community, change places, change the group of friends. And that's going to be, 70% of what you hear them talk about. It's going to be there. This one here, this is about the form, cross of tension. And it's the tension coming through my form. This is someone who cannot relax necessarily. Moody, melancholic, provoking. This is someone that you don't know why, you hear people say a lot of shit about them. I was doing this and now that, and then she did this. How can you do this in this moment? Adrenaline, a rush of adrenaline. She does not know why. She does not know why she ends up doing what she senses could annoy other people. She never meant to disturb them, but at some point they are disturbing her. So she's kind of defending herself and not aware that it can be perceived as an attack. Just reacting. And she's doing this 70% of the time. Anybody speaks. Anybody says, this is true. And the one thing she wants to say is, yeah, maybe. Are you sure? It may be true for you, but it isn't true for me. So 1-3. I heard many people before say this is true. That's what you're going to see when you see them. You're not going to think, oh, this is a reflector. Oh, no. You're going to see someone, playing manifestor, playing generator, playing all kinds of frequencies, and nothing is consistent if you watch them over time. The only thing that's consistent is this profile and the gate themes where the sun and the earths are, acting out mostly their not self, mostly their disappointment. But, it's not going to be, disappointment can be expressed in many, many different ways. And each reflector has their own variation. Same here, the 33. This is the 4 ways. The martyr heretic. This is retreat. This is going to be someone very private. Very private. I sample and I go home. I sample and I go home. I sample and I go home. And this is a 3-5. Everything that I sample when I get home and I think of it is a lot less valuable to me than what it looked like when it was happening and how it was being presented to me. Now, this is a 3-5. They're here to demystify appearances. They're here to demystify the power of hormones. They're here to demystify what looks special, and it's just normal. You know, until they're done with normal. And when they don't expect special as a preconceived idea, that's when then, you know, they can meet a human being they never met before. You know, when the surprise is not something they look for, you know, something different, something special, something I've never done before, breaking the rules, you know, surprise, coming by surprise. It can be so not, you know, it can be so not self-manifested, you know, not self-manifested. You show up home at the door of your mother, you know, she didn't know you were coming. Surprise, yeah, well, not everybody likes surprises, you know. So outer authority, you see, it is rooted in our personality. It is rooted in the fulfillment of our myth. Our myth. So the surprise, you know, for this person may come in retreat after the experience. When they remember, they can suddenly realize something that they didn't pay any attention to while it was happening. You know? Surprise in what they remember. And suddenly they realize this person that was there, you know, they had a lot to do with what then was, because you see, the not self, the mental dilemma of reflector is, who are they? Who are they? In other words, they're not here to get lost in the characters of the movie. They're here to understand the movie. They're here to understand. It's when you go to the theater. You know, you don't go to the theater for one actor. You go to the theater for the play. What is the play about? You know, what was connecting all the actors? What connects all the members of a group? Which role do they each play? You know? And there was something very surprising. I've seen many other actors play these roles, and I've never seen anyone play it the way this guy played it. See, this is the surprise. You're not looking at something that never existed before. You never saw it like this. That's the surprise. How you look at things. If you look at things with the eyes of disappointment, how could you ever see through appearances? You know? But when disappointment is no longer what drives your way of thinking, surprise. See, when your strategy is wait for the cycle of the moon, 28 days of watching your mind go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, planning about this and speculating about this and da-da-da-da. At some point, you're going to realize what happens in life is not what you think. The life does not follow your mind. Life does not follow your script. That life is full of surprises, and that none of us can foresee it. And because we are afraid of that, we developed all kinds of uniform ways of thinking, uniform ways of fearing, uniform ways of feeling, uniform ways of behaving. That's the reflector theme, you know. But deep inside this sea of homogenization, there is this spark in them to recognize uniqueness. Okay, guys, this is all I have for you today. Tomorrow we will dedicate the whole day at playing with what is called the 4 views, you know. So I will use a few examples And then, I will teach you how, using the information that you gathered in the ABC and in the Rave cartography, beyond type and profile, how deep you can go into anybody's design. Of course, not with the ease of someone like me, 26 years of dedication, but you look at this, you look at that, you can even take notes. If I look from this view, what do I see? They're this and they're that. Okay, let's change view. What do you see if you look from here? Oh, they're also this and they're also that. And then if you look from here, what does it become? Oh, there's also this and this and that. Now, okay, put the profile there and connect all of those things, and you get a story. Make a story with those few things, and it's there. You don't have to interpret it. It's there. It's written in the mechanics. It's written in the predisposition to differentiate that we are all born with, and it's written in the predisposition to be conditioned that we are also all born with. And you never know. I never know how much the person is living out the conditioned version or the person is living out the differentiated version. I know the difference between the two. And I know what is going to fuel one, the mind, and I know what is going to align the being to the other, strategy, authority. The surrender of the personality to the body rather than the exploitation of the body by the not-self personality. And that's as simple as it gets. You cannot explain the human condition in a simpler way and in a more efficient way, where if you actually put these keys in practice in your daily life, the one thing you can be sure about is that the perception of who you think you are is going to be deeply transformed. That will be tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock. I look forward to that. And please, because it is our last day together, this is also your chance to, whatever questions, whatever things you would like to have more clarity about, bring them there. I would be happy to deal with whatever you may bring. Enjoy your evening, and hasta mañana. Bye for now, to all of you. Thank you, Nadia. Thank you, Katya. Enjoy your evening. Bye for now.